G'day, folks. Peter here, along with Shane. G'day, Shane. How are you?
G'day, Peter. Pretty good. And yourself?
Living the dream, as always.
Oh, you and me both, mate. You and me both. Tis that
Yep.
season still.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mondays Down Under on Talking Pools, where we give something of a Southern Hemisphere view on the pool industry. So, Shane, what's been going on this week?
Yeah, it's been a pretty full-on week. Still in the peak season at the moment. The holidays are still on, summer holidays over here. So plenty of kids splashing around in the pool still. This week has been a week full of floaters in the swimming
Floaters.
pool. Floaters, yes, just bobbing around, bouncing up and down. Luckily, it hasn't been the brown ones that a lot
Good.
of people are probably thinking of, but more toys. Just
Toys.
yeah, kids' toys, dogs' toys. Just been floating around, blocking up in the skimmer.
Yep.
It seems to be a case of no matter how many times you tell the clients, once you're finished, take everything out of the pool. Anything that may be able to blow in there, pack away. It's like they ignore you. I don't know why. So yeah, it's been a week of floaters this week.
They ignore that because it's easy to just let the pool guy take care of all their kids' crap in the pool.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much it, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, some people do keep a floaty toy, a floating crocodile or one of those ridiculous
Yep.
duck-looking things. Some people keep them on the pool because they reckon it scares the ducks away.
Yep.
And
I've seen
it
that.
seems to.
Mm,
Haven't done any objective studies on the topic, but hey, if it keeps the ducks off, that's a big plus. That's worth it.
yep. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You don't want too much bird poop going in your pool.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of floaters, there's a floating thermometer available shaped like a turd. It's like a piece of poop floating around the pool. Available on eBay. The gift for the person who already has everything. Reminds me of the movie Caddyshack, but
Yep.
that's going back a while. The old Baby Ruth chocolate bar. I once actually had to give a presentation where we had to do something. This was in a mixed industry meeting, and we had to give a presentation of something weird from a movie that relates to our industry. So I
Mm-hmm.
actually got a Baby Ruth chocolate bar from an American importer who brings American foodstuffs here,
Yep.
and gave a presentation based on throwing a chocolate bar into a pool. Completely useless fact, but there you have it.
Did you eat it after?
Actually, somebody pinched it off me. One of the
Oh,
women there came up and just said, "Oh, I haven't had one of those before." Grabbed it and started eating. I thought, "Hey, what the hell is this about?" But no, she's a pretty good friend.
oh, very good.
And your
Oh,
screen's
yeah.
frozen.
It is, yeah. I'm completely frozen here, mate. Oh, perfect timing.
No, you're right. It's a funny facial expression you got to look at.
It
So
is, yeah. You're looking very serious.
the other thing we find quite often on in pools are the toys that kids use to dive for. Sorry, I can't look at this screen and keep a straight face. Those little toys, kids throw them in the pool, they sink to the bottom. Some of them are shaped like a little torpedo, some of them just shaped randomly, some are rings. I've found over quite a few times that they will leave a rust mark on the bottom of the pool. I was at a new customer's house yesterday. He just was installing a robotic cleaner he bought. Beautiful pool. It was only finished in December, so it's not even 2 months old yet. Ah, there we go. You're back.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry.
Beautiful, slightly off-white render, so very, very light color. Multi-million-dollar house, no expense spared. And as soon as I got there, I said, "Look, you really want to keep those out of the pool because you will end up
Mm,
with rust marks, and it'll be a
mm,
shame on a nice new finish like this to have that." So his daughters were playing on the back lawn. So he very sternly told them to jump in the pool and get them out. But they got a scoop net instead. So obviously not up for a swim yesterday. Don't know why, because the weather's beautiful here at the moment.
Oh, yeah, no rain, clear skies, sunshine, is it?
Blue skies and sunshine. The other day got a little bit cloudy. Few gusty winds, but I mean, right now it's 23.5 Celsius. I'll have to convert that to Fahrenheit for our American friends. Hey, America, how you doing? So about 74 Fahrenheit,
Yep.
but blue skies, gentle breeze. It's gorgeous out there.
Oh, very good. You've been lucky. The last 2 weeks we've had a lot of rainfall. Christmas and New Year was beautiful, I think, throughout the entire country. But yeah, as soon as New Year's was kind of come to an end, hadn't stopped raining. There was a cyclone that was, I think, on the northeast of Australia that kind of come through, and we got a bit of the tail end of that one. And yeah, yesterday was the first day it pretty much stopped raining in Auckland. So hopefully summer's coming back again this week. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we've got temperatures set for around the 30-degree mark for the next few days. That's 80 to 90 Fahrenheit,
Yep.
roughly. Next Friday, though, we're looking at 36 Celsius, which is 97 Fahrenheit in round figures. So
Yep.
I expect things to start picking up ahead of the weekend, just as
Yep.
people are looking forward to spending more time in their pools.
True.
And hopefully they can take their floating crap off them before we get there. The other one I've had is pool blankets, which a lot of people put them on. They're actually quite necessary here. Any new pool must be supplied with a suitable pool cover for
Is that
evaporation.
throughout the entire throughout Australia in general? Is that just specific states?
Definitely Western Australia. My
Yes.
understanding is that other states have the same rule.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't read the legislation on that.
Yep.
But I've got some customers who are so scared of losing water through evaporation that they just leave their blankets on all the time. We
Yep.
had one job a couple of days ago, and free chlorine was something like 11.5 parts per million.
Oh, wow.
Combined chlorine was 3.36 parts per million. I told that customer, you've got to leave the cover off for at least 3 days. The technician
Yes.
who was out there told her the same thing. I went back there to check something later in the day as I was passing. Okay, I went back to see if she put the cover back on. And sure enough, same day she had the cover back on.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, look, we just can't keep coming back here with you not following our instructions.
Yep.
Because every time we come, your pH is up through the roof because you don't monitor that between visits. It's a monthly service account.
Yep.
Your combined chlorine is through the roof. If someone swims in that pool, their eyes are going to start stinging. They've got skin irritation. Mm. It's going to be terrible. So we're trying to help you, not, be difficult. Apart from that, because it keeps going green each time, she's spending way, way more money on chemicals and hours of service than she would if she just took the blanket off and wore a little bit of evaporation.
Yeah, yep. So in regards to that, what would be your preferred way of lowering the combined chlorine?
In the winter, I'd quite often use chlorine as a shock.
Mm-hmm.
In the summertime, though, people don't want to have to wait for the chlorine level to reduce to safe levels. So I'll often use potassium monopersulfate. And the advantage of that is you can swim in it within half an hour. And if you've got a 37-degree day or 100 Fahrenheit degree day, it's much easier to tell the people, look, I can use chlorine. Your kids can't swim for a couple of days at least.
Mm-hmm.
I can use this stuff, which isn't cheap. It's a lot more expensive, but you can push the kids in half an hour. Invariably, when they do, when they're people who actually use their pool, some people have a pool and never even swim in it.
Yes.
They don't really care. But if they've got kids and it's a hot day, you better believe they'll pay the extra for the half-hour wait time.
Yes. Yeah.
But I always tell customers remove the blanket before the night before service at least, because it gives that combined chlorine a little bit of a chance to vent off.
Mm-hmm.
I also tell them to take the blanket off for at least, this is the solar covers, the bubble blankets,
Yeah.
and the foam thermal blankets, which don't heat the water. I always tell them, take it off. A, I don't want to be there stuffing around with a blanket. B, it allows the chloramines to vent off. But, that's where I was going with this. I always tell them take it off for at least a full 24-hour day, once a week in summer, once a fortnight in winter, just to let that water breathe.
Yep. Yeah.
And some of them even do it.
There are some people out there that listen.
Oh, occasionally. Had a first regular service on a pool the other day. This is a customer who, for the last couple of years, has called me when he's had a problem with his equipment, but he's now moved overseas for a year.
Right.
And you just maintain the pool while I'm gone. And I said, look, your house sitters are going to have to remove the blanket. Not only once a week, but also night before service. Now, this pool is kind of like a T shape. Think of a big fat capital letter T, uppercase T. Big fat one. On one side, the boundary wall of the property is directly above the waterline of the pool. So the wall of the pool is on the boundary. On all the other sides, there's about a 10-inch clearance between the water and the glass pool fence with a gate at one end. Now, this guy's always tries to do anything he can to save money. He bought a really cheap and nasty solar cover online, put it on the pool, didn't cut it to size or shape. There's actually like two covers, one for the long top section and one for the upright bit, if you think of it as a letter T. And I reckon it's probably about 1.5 meters, about 5 feet too wide for it. So it's all lumped up in the middle. And you've got to try to get this thing through a single glass gate leading to the pool.
Right.
Technician arrived there the other day, and I put on the job sheet for this job. If the blanket's on the pool, call me. So, yeah, she gave me a call and said, look, the blanket's on the pool. What do we do? I said, leave. I'm just going to tell the customer. I was very, very clear when I met him to pick up the key, when we discussed things on the phone since, and also the night before I confirmed it with a text message. And he got back to me saying, yeah, not a problem, we'll get that done. They'd used the pool scoop to push the blanket across. So there was maybe 1/5 of the pool was clear of blanket and the rest was just crumpled up.
Wow.
So that's another ex-customer.
Yeah. And is that quite a windy area? Have you noticed?
It's a fairly sheltered property. I mean, where we are in Perth, it gets very windy. We're on the coastal plain. We've got hills, I guess 30 kilometres inland, 20 odd miles, give or take. And when in the morning, wind comes from the desert towards the coast, so that's from the east, comes across, that gets windy. But then in the afternoon, especially on a hot day, we get the sea breeze. And beautiful. We call it the Fremantle Doctor because it's originally termed that because it's got a real healing feel about it. It just cools everything down. It's wonderful. But that does get quite gusty. But this particular pool is very sheltered. I mean, the fence is that close around it on all sides. Very little wind would get in there anyway.
Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
But it's just very, very poor design in terms of serviceability of that pool.
Yeah, sounds like an interesting one. Now, just the reason I'm asking about the wind is this week we had the cyclone coming in. There's been a lot of very windy areas around in Auckland, which are quite exposed. And I've seen it in the past that clients have had their pool covers. There's been a gust of wind which has got underneath it, and it's blown their pool cover clean off. straight into the neighbour's garden. Unfortunately, these covers haven't been correctly sized for the swimming pool. So that's what made me think about, the one that you were just talking about.
Yeah, this one they definitely used the pool leaf scoop to push it across because they left it sitting on top of half the blanket. You have a visitor again.
My little boy. Yeah. Every time.
Yep. That's why I have to come to the workshop to record these things, because at home, I know my kids just won't shut up long enough for me to record an episode.
Yeah. There'll be a little future podcaster in the making. Who knows?
Maybe.
So, going back to floaters, Peter, has this been something that you've experienced over your years? I can safely say, luckily, I haven't had the privilege of having to shovel one out myself.
Oh, now you're talking about the Code Brown type floaters.
Yeah. Not so much the other toys, I can handle them.
Yes.
But yeah, the Code Browns, is that something that you've experienced in the past?
It certainly is.
Yep.
I find it worse when there are small kids because those swimming nappies don't always hold everything.
Right, okay, yes.
And of course, commercial pools, especially, kids swimming lessons, you see all sorts of stuff in the water there.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's solid feces and you get to it fairly quickly,
yep,
scoop it out, get your chemistry right, maintain your chlorine level. I always evacuate the pool, always, get everyone, or close the pool, get everyone out of it. And I leave the scoop and so forth in the water to just to sanitize that. When it's liquid feces, we kind of touched on this last time. I think it was we spoke when we were talking about how to deal with dead animals. I know Rudy's mentioned it in terms of dealing with a dead body. 20 parts per million of chlorine, maintained for at least 12 3/4 hours. Actually, I'm going to have to check because I was sure that for us it was 14 3/4 hours. So I'm going to check the manual on that one.
Okay, yep.
Test the water every half hour because every time that goes below 20 parts per million of chlorine, it extends the time it needs to be maintained.
So it could be quite a timely, lengthy process.
Diarrhea in a pool, yes. And here as well, vomit is handled the same way as diarrhea. In the US, I understand it's... Beg yours?
What did you say is handled the same way as diarrhea?
Vomit.
Oh, yes.
Somebody parks the tiger in the pool. That's probably not a term you've heard, is it? Park the tiger.
Good one, though.
It is. And the Technicolor yawn. In America, I understand that that's handled the same way as solid feces.
Right.
But look, any of them, I'd rather be overcautious and overtreat it rather than under, because it's people's health and safety that's at risk.
Yeah, definitely.
I've been to customers' houses where they've said, look, somebody's pooped in the pool. So, right, get everyone out. And a couple of times I was right in the area, so I could just swing past there, get everyone out of the pool, leave them out until I'm there. You go in there and you can see them swimming in the pool. And you just think, again, why don't you listen? We're trying to help. So there's a lot of that.
It's little Jimmy's birthday. He's got to have a swim today,
Yes. Yeah, that seems to be it. So apart from floating toys and floating poop, what other weird stuff have you encountered in pools? Stuff that has no place being in a swimming pool.
Yeah, I've had a few tables and chairs in the deep end of the swimming pool.
That's
Um,
possibly the wind coming in
quite
or a hell of a
interesting
party.
pulling them out. What's that? Sorry.
That's probably the wind blowing them in sometimes, or someone's had one hell of a party.
Yeah. I think this was from a party. There was I'm assuming beer pong cups. They were in the bottom of the pool as well. Um,
Yep.
and on the same one there was a smashed glass in there, which was pretty frustrating because it was a clear glass. It wasn't a green or a brown bottle. We'd be able to see it and you'd be able to scoop it out or vac it up. So yeah, needed to pre-warn them. Um, when it's clear, you can only do what you can do. Go around it multiple times, vac in, scoop in, brush in, see if anything's glistening under the water.
Even still, I had a hotel call me once asking me to vacuum their pool because there was a broken glass. Some youngsters got a broken cocktail glass, a martini glass in there. And I said, look, for this pool with glass like that, the only way I'd do it is a complete drain clean refill. And they said, nope, we just need it vacuumed. And I said, no, sorry, can't help you. I was flat out busy at the time and I just didn't have time to stuff around with that. Also, the liability involved. They got somebody else who said, yeah, I'll vacuum it. They stuck their big commercial robotic cleaner in every night, which as they did. A couple of weeks later, a child cut their foot open on the broken glass in that pool.
Right.
So it had been lingering around there for at least a couple of weeks.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And if you try to vacuum past it or the robotic cleaner, for example, if the glass was it would have been that thin, it could have just displaced it, just moved it out of the way.
Yeah.
But no, broken glass in pools, that's the thing I hate the most. I won't say I fear it, but that's something that concerns me.
No, it's only happened to me once, luckily. But yeah, it's a pain.
I'll meet you on your furniture and broken glass, and I'll raise you.
Oh.
I keep a tally. Once I've had a ride-on lawnmower in a pool. I'm not joking.
That was pretty impressive.
It was. It actually needed a crane to pull it out. We just, it was too heavy for a couple of us to lift, way too heavy. So yeah, had to get that out. The count is up to 5 bicycles.
Oh, wow.
Push bikes.
Yeah.
And you just wonder, how did they end up in the pool? You just got to wonder. But on some of the very bad green pool recoveries I've done, I'm talking where the pool's been not been used for some years. We find things like star pickets, timber sleepers from the garden, ornamental rocks from the garden. And it's a lump of granite. It's heavy to get out. Paving bricks. I once did a cleanup, felt something strange as I was trying to scoop up and I was scooping blind. It was actually the blanket on its roller sitting at the bottom of the pool. I had no idea what it was till the water started clearing. But sometimes I wonder, how did this stuff end up in there?
Yes. Yep. It's funny that you've mentioned that actually, because there was a pool that I went to last year. Completely forgot about it. It had been out of action for, I think he said, maybe 5-6 years.
Yep.
The water level was, it was pretty down. It was, I think, maybe a meter, roughly 3 feet of water in this pool. It was only a little one, but you could just see little items poking out the top of the water. The guy wanted me to give it a good clean up. Wanted me to quote him, so I got the pole and the net. sometimes I'll put it into the water, it's like dunk, 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 couldn't even drag it, couldn't push it. I said, I think this is going to have to be you pay as you go rather than me quote you for this because I have no idea how long it's going to take. So ended up draining the water. As the water's going down, you see more and more items poking out. I'm just thinking to myself, why the hell have why have I chosen to do this job? So once the water level had been pretty much drained, I jumped down into the pool and pulling everything out. And there was actually from memory, it was like a porcelain kitchen sink, which had been thrown in there as well. There was a
Everything,
bicycle,
including the kitchen sink.
everything, including the kitchen sink. Yeah, so much wood, scrap wood, river rocks. They had been thrown in there. So, I actually took a photo of it and I put it on my website. Actually, I completely forgot about that. And it was nasty. Took me a good few days to clean that one up. But yeah, you just jogged my memory then when you mentioned that. So I think I might have to raise you a kitchen sink there, Peter.
Okay. I still think the ride on lawnmower was very, very impressive. Had
A
a
ride on lawnmower though, I mean that's something. That really is something.
Yeah, I got the call and they said, "Oh, there's a lawnmower in the pool." I said, "A what?" And they said, "A lawnmower." I said, "What, push top or ride on?" They said, "Oh, ride on." And I said, "That's probably going to need a crane." So yeah, literally had to get a crane out there to lift it out.
Yeah. I can imagine in a situation like that, possibly oil and petrol may have leaked out, or diesel may have leaked out, possibly.
There wasn't too much. It got onto it pretty quick. There
Yeah,
was an early film on the top though. I can't remember
it
how old.
was.
Uh, this is going back a few years. I spoke with
Mm,
one of my chemical suppliers and they said, "Oh, we'll try this stuff," and I
yeah.
should find out. Uh, Actually, enzymes would probably be handy for that. Uh,
Mm,
very soon, I'd love to have Rudy on the show on Mondays Down Under because enzymes is something that isn't commonly used over here. So maybe we can learn from the best, learn from the master himself.
yeah. I see that they seem to be very popular on the Talking Pools Facebook page. A lot
Yeah,
of people are talking about them. I've spoken to 3 suppliers in New Zealand about it, and they did. There is one product on the market which does contain enzymes, but I'm a bit weary of this product. But yeah, the other guy said no, no. I think Biolab, they are in talks, possibly bringing it over this year, but we'll have to wait and see.
yeah. No, there's a couple of them over here, but there's not a lot of
Mm,
information. Even the suppliers don't know a great deal about it.
yeah.
And yeah, that's an interesting thing. If ever I'm going to use a product or if I'm going to recommend a product, and this is equipment, the same as chemicals, I've always got 5 boxes that need to be checked.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it needs to work and work reliably, be it a chemical or a piece of equipment. If it doesn't, say if I've see 3 of this particular item in a week that don't work every week, that makes me think this is probably a low quality and I don't want the hassle of having to supply it. The customer doesn't want something that's going to give them hassle. I don't want something that's going to hassle the customer because then they'll
Mm-hmm.
hassle me. And
Yep.
I don't want to be going out doing repair jobs or redoing chemicals because something hasn't worked. Another thing I look at is more for equipment, of course, is it user friendly? Because some of the equipment out there is so user unfriendly. All you
Mm,
need is for the customer to get confused with it, start jabbing at buttons randomly, mess things up, again, have to go out there, fix it.
yep.
And generally that's a special trip out, which I try to avoid unless it's scheduled in.
Yes.
I need to make sure that there's good support good advice, good support, good service and repairs for equipment locally. There's one manufacturer here who has, or one brand, they have thousands of products in WA. In Western Australia, their distributor warehouse carries 200 types of spare parts. I've had to wait 6 months for chlorinator cells in the past. How do you tell a customer, oh, you know this thing I sold you 2 years ago? We can't get a part in for 6 months. It doesn't look good.
No, not at all.
So yeah, spare parts is the fourth one. The other thing is I have to trust the people I'm dealing with. There are some great products out there, but which I don't use because I just don't have any faith in the supplier. So that's the benchmark for me. If it doesn't check all 5 boxes, I certainly won't recommend it as a product. And if a customer requests it, sometimes I'll say, yes, but you need to be aware of these things. Other products I say, I just don't deal with that supplier. And explain the reasons why. And I find that builds credibility because it's not just Pete's going to sell me anything. They like to be reassured that I've got my reasons for selecting what I've selected.
Yes. Yep. Oh, that's good. That's some very good points there, Peter.
So
I can imagine over the years as well, you've probably dealt with pretty much every company in Australia under the sun.
Well, in Western Australia,
there's
a couple of them on the East Coast that don't really do a lot over here. A lot of them just have distributor arrangements in Western Australia. Some of the bigger players, Waterco and Fluidra and so forth, they've got their own people over here, so we'll buy direct from them. But if I want to buy Pentair or some of the other brands, then local distributors is who I deal with. Davey is another example of that. Davey, not sure if Davey has a presence in the USA. I'm assuming they do in New Zealand. Iconic old Australian brand, and they do a lot of swimming pool and irrigation equipment.
It's the same in New Zealand.
Anyway, as always, fantastic to chat. You have yourself a fantastic week out there. Hope the weather gets better, stays better. Less rain would be good.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Peter. Hopefully we can grab some of your sunshine. Fingers crossed.
No, we're keeping that for ourselves. We get enough rain in winter.
True.
Anyway, you have a great week.
Thank you. Cheers, Peter. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers. Uru.
Yes.